Let me tell you, man, nothing prepares you for the vast, silent expanse of space. It's like being plunged into an ocean of darkness where the only sound is your own breathing, and the only company you've got are your own thoughts, and of course, your fellow astronaut. That's how it started, just me and Alex floating in this high-tech, can we call a space station, orbiting Earth. It was my third mission, but Alex's first. He had that gleam in his eyes, the one rookies have when they see the Earth from up high for the first time. We were supposed to be a team, carrying out experiments, fixing whatever broke, the usual space routine. And for the first week, it was all textbook stuff. We chatted about life back on Earth, shared stories of our families, and debated over which freeze-dried meal actually resembled real food. You form this bond in space, you know? It's different from anything back on Earth. Confined in that small space, relying on each other for survival, the guy next to you becomes more than just a colleague. But then, everything changed. It was a regular day, or as regular as you can get in orbit. We were checking the life support systems, laughing over a joke Alex had cracked about how astronauts sleep in 0G. "It's like hanging upside down without the hanging part," he said. I chuckled, turning away to jot down some readings. That's when I heard it. A thud, unnaturally loud in the constant hum of the station's life support systems. I spun around and found Alex motionless on the floor, eyes wide open staring into nothingness. My heart raced as I floated to him, calling his name, hoping for any sign of response. But there was nothing. Just silence. A deep, profound silence that swallowed my desperate cries. The next hours were a blur of protocol and panic. Despite the drills, nothing prepares you for the real thing. I reported the incident, secured Alex's body according to procedure, and waited for instructions from ground control. The isolation of space, which was just an inconvenience before, turned suffocating. Every corner of the station reminded me of him, his laughter, his dreams of space, now just echoes in a void. Nights were the worst. You see, in orbit you experience 16 sunrises and sunsets a day. But after he passed, the darkness outside didn't compare to the one inside. I lay awake, staring at the bunk above me, haunted by his last moments. What if I had turned earlier? Could I have saved him? Rational thought battled with grief, leaving me exhausted but sleepless. The station, once filled with the spirit of exploration, now felt more like a tomb. I tried to keep busy, to focus on tasks, but my actions felt robotic, hollow. The joy of floating in zero gravity, the awe of watching Earth from above, all of it was gone, replaced by a constant, gnawing emptiness. And then the anomalies began. Lights flickered without reason. Screens displayed jumbled data. I reported everything, clinging to the hope that it was just technical glitches, that the station was just showing its age. But deep down, a chilling thought took root. Was the station mourning Alex too? Or was it something else, something beyond my understanding? That's when I started noticing the life support system acting up, displaying 2 life signatures when I was the only one breathing. I tried to convince myself it was a malfunction, a bug in the system. But in the eerie silence of the station, with shadows playing tricks on my mind, the line between reality and imagination blurred. And then came the messages. "Help me," spelled out in cold blue letters on the main screen. My blood turned to ice. It was probably a corrupted file, a stray piece of code, but in the deafening quiet of space, every possibility seemed equally plausible and terrifying. After Alex's death, the atmosphere aboard the station shifted dramatically. I found myself floating through the modules. Each movement felt heavy, each task a monumental effort. The silence of space, once a serene backdrop, now echoed with a haunting presence. I tried to keep to the routine, to focus on the daily logs, the maintenance checks, the endless stream of data, but it was like moving through a fog, thick and suffocating. I first noticed the anomalies in the lighting system. Lights would flicker on and off in an erratic dance, creating shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. I brushed it off as a technical hiccup, something easily explained by the harsh conditions of space. But deep down, a seed of unease began to take root. Then, the temperature controls went haywire. One moment, I'd be shivering, watching my breath form clouds in the cold air. The next, I'd be sweating, the heat oppressive, unbearable. I pored over the manuals, double-checked the settings, but everything was as it should be. The station, it seemed, was rebelling, each system taking turns to malfunction. I reported every incident, documented each anomaly, hoping ground control could offer an explanation. But their responses were always the same. Perform a system reset, check the wiring, run diagnostics. They didn't understand. They couldn't feel the growing tension, the creeping dread that filled the station's corridors. The life support readings were the tipping point. Seeing 2 life signatures flash on the screen sent a cold shiver down my spine. I knew it was impossible. I was the sole survivor, the only living being on this metal contraption orbiting Earth. And yet, there it was, a blatant contradiction to reality staring back at me from the monitor. I rationalized, theorized, convinced myself it was a glitch, a remnant of Alex's presence still registered in the system. But the idea of a ghostly companion did little to comfort me. Instead, it added a layer of supernatural horror to my already frayed nerves. The true descent into terror began with the computer systems. It started small. Files I didn't remember opening, logs that didn't match my entries. I chalked it up to sleep deprivation, a mind overwhelmed by grief and stress. But then, the messages appeared. "Help me," they read, stark against the black background of the terminal. Once, twice, then over and over again, a relentless plea that I couldn't ignore. I scoured the coding, looking for a logical explanation, a prank, a leftover from some previous crew. But there was nothing, no reason for these words to haunt my every moment. The messages became my obsession. Each new appearance sent a wave of panic through me, a visceral reminder that I was not alone, that something, or someone, was reaching out. Was it Alex? Was it his final message, somehow trapped within the station's systems? Or was it something else, something darker, preying on my isolation and fear? Sleep became an elusive dream, each blink a battle against the terror that clung to the shadows. I would float through the station, checking, rechecking every system, every hatch, desperate for answers, for peace. But the station offered none, only whispers in the dark, fleeting movements in the corner of my eye, and the constant, unending messages that filled me with dread. In the depths of space, I learned a new level of fear, not of the unknown that lay outside, but of the unknown that seemed to dwell within the very walls that kept me alive. The anomalies aboard the station had pushed my nerves to the brink, and amidst the chaos, the necessity for a spacewalk emerged. External repairs, they called it, essential for maintaining the integrity of our orbiting home, but as I prepared to venture into the vast emptiness, a part of me dreaded what awaited beyond the safety of the station's walls. Suiting up for a spacewalk is like preparing for battle. Each layer, each seal, each check is a ritual, a barrier against the void. As I floated in the airlock, waiting for the green light, the weight of my solitude pressed against me. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the sound of my own breathing and the mechanical hiss of oxygen flowing through my suit. The hatch opened, and I was greeted by the unfathomable expanse of space. Earth, in all its majestic beauty, spread out below me, a tapestry of blues, greens, and browns, framed by the blackness of the cosmos. Normally, this sight filled me with awe, a reminder of the grandeur of our planet and the fragility of our existence. But not this time. This time my heart was heavy, my mind consumed by the spectral presence that seemed to haunt the station. I propelled myself along the exterior, the cold of space biting at my fingertips, despite the layers of insulation. My mission was clear: locate the malfunctioning sensors, replace the faulty components, return to safety. Routine, or so it should have been. Halfway through the repairs, a chill crept down my spine. It wasn't the cold of space. This was different. a primal fear, a sense that I was being watched. I paused, turning slowly, scanning the void for any sign of... what? I didn't know. But the feeling of unseen eyes upon me was undeniable. That's when I saw it, a figure floating aimlessly in the void. My breath caught in my throat. It was Alex, or rather, what used to be Alex. His suit was distorted, his body contorted in impossible angles, as if twisted by unseen forces. His face, oh God, his face was a mask of pain and terror, eyes bulging, mouth agape in a silent scream. For a moment I was paralyzed, horror rooting me to the spot. Was this a hallucination? A trick of the mind brought on by stress and grief? Or was Alex's tormented spirit truly adrift in the cold, unfeeling vacuum of space? Panic set in, a wild, clawing thing that demanded flight. In my haste, I activated the thrusters too forcefully, sending myself spinning uncontrollably into the abyss. The world became a blur, a maelstrom of stars and darkness, Earth swirling in and out of view. My training abandoned me, replaced by raw, animal fear. I was a speck of dust in the vastness of the universe, alone, helpless, hurtling towards oblivion. But even as I spun, my mind raced, thoughts fragmented by terror and disbelief. How could Alex be out here? Was it guilt manifesting as a ghastly vision, or had something beyond comprehension happened to my fallen comrade? The questions spiraled, entwining with my fear, as I tumbled endlessly through the cosmic void. It was a battle to regain control, to quell the panic that threatened to consume me. Every breath was a gasp, every heartbeat a thunderous drum in my ears. But slowly, painstakingly, I managed to stabilize myself, to halt the wild spin and reorient my body towards the station. The return to the airlock was a blur, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate desire for safety. I couldn't shake the image of Alex, his twisted form etched into my memory. But more than that, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, that whatever had happened out there had altered the very fabric of my reality. Back inside the station, I stripped off my suit, each movement mechanical, automatic. I avoided the mirror, afraid of what I might see reflected in my own eyes. The solitude of space had always been a given, a condition of the job. But now it was a prison, a realm of shadows and whispers, where the dead kept company and the stars watched in cold, silent judgment. I knew I had to report what I'd seen, to make sense of the impossible. But words failed me, lost in the void between madness and reality. Instead, I floated there, in the silence of the station, a lone sentinel adrift in the endless night, wondering if the darkness outside had finally seeped inside, into the very heart of my being. The rescue came when I had almost lost all hope, a flickering light in the abyss of my despair. The shuttle's arrival was heralded not by the triumphant fanfare of salvation, but by a simple, steady beep on the communication console, a signal cutting through the static of my nightmares. Ground control's voice, once a distant, impersonal entity, was now a lifeline, pulling me back from the brink. The process of docking and boarding the shuttle was mechanical, my actions guided by training that operated beyond the reach of my shattered nerves. The crew didn't ask questions. Their eyes, full of concern and unspoken questions, told me they knew something was deeply wrong. They treated me with a gentle efficiency, a kindness I could hardly bear, for it reminded me of all that I had lost. As the shuttle detached and began its journey home, I found myself glued to the viewport, eyes searching the vast sea of stars for a sign, a hint of the horrors I had left behind. But space revealed nothing, its secrets cloaked in unfathomable darkness. Earth's gravitational pull reasserted itself, a reminder of the laws that governed our existence. The re-entry process was a fiery descent through layers of atmosphere, a physical manifestation of my own journey from the cold void back to the warmth of human life. But even as the flames licked the shuttle's exterior, my mind was elsewhere, trapped in the cold, silent expanse I had left behind. I saw him again in those flames, Alex. His form, once twisted and grotesque in the vacuum of space, now seemed to be part of the fire itself, a phoenix in a terrifying rebirth. His eyes met mine, and in them, I saw a world of pain, accusation, and sorrow. It was a silent farewell, a final haunting that seared itself into my memory. The shuttle's landing was a return to reality, the jolt from touchdown a harsh welcome back to Earth. I stepped onto the tarmac, the solid ground a strange sensation after months of weightlessness. Around me, the world buzzed with the life I had almost forgotten, but the noise couldn't drown out the silence I carried within. The debriefings were exhaustive, a blur of faces and questions. I recounted the technical failures, the strange occurrences, the feeling of being haunted by an unseen presence. But when it came to Alex's apparition, I hesitated. How could I explain the unexplainable? How could I make them understand the depth of my terror, the reality of my encounters? So I remained silent on that part, fearing their disbelief, fearing I was truly losing my grasp on reality. Nights were the hardest. Sleep, when it came, brought little respite. The darkness of my room felt oppressive, a mimicry of the void, and dreams twisted into nightmares, replaying my ordeal with cruel fidelity. Alex's tortured form visited me, a specter of guilt and unresolved questions. The line between waking and sleeping blurred, each night a journey through dread and sorrow. The physical wounds healed, the scars fading into pale lines, but the mental scars remained, deep and festering. I sought solace in therapy, in the words of friends and family, but the darkness lingered, a constant companion. My experience had changed me, reshaped my understanding of the universe and my place within it. In the silence, in the moments between breaths, I would catch myself listening for a sign, a whisper from the void. The realization that I would never escape what had happened, that the memories and fears would forever be a part of me, was a weight I was still learning to carry. As I stood on the firm ground, looking up at the stars, I knew part of me was still out there, adrift in the infinite silence, forever changed by the depths of space. Back on Earth, the ground beneath my feet felt unfamiliar, as if I had left a part of myself in the cold, silent expanse of space. People around me went about their daily lives, oblivious to the horrors that lurked beyond our atmosphere, to the unseen terrors that I had encountered. I tried to reintegrate, to find normalcy in the mundane routines of earthly existence, but it was like fitting a square peg into a round hole. Something fundamental within me had shifted, altered by my experiences in the void. My return was marked not by the fanfare of a hero's welcome, but by the hushed whispers of those who knew only fragments of my ordeal. I saw curiosity, fear, and pity in their eyes, emotions I couldn't confront, reflections of my own inner turmoil. I wanted to scream, to make them understand the depth of the darkness that exists just beyond our sky, but words failed me. How could I convey the sheer terror of being haunted by a presence that should not exist, of facing the unimaginable in the cold, unforgiving vacuum of space? I sought solace in solitude, distancing myself from those who wished to help. The silence that I had once cursed in space became a balm, a necessary void to drown out the cacophony of everyday life. But it was a double-edged sword, for in the silence the memories crept in. Alex's twisted form, the haunting messages, the inexplicable anomalies. They swirled in my mind, a constant, unending storm of fear and confusion. Therapy sessions became a routine, a futile attempt to untangle the web of my psyche. I recounted the events again and again, each iteration a descent into the madness that had gripped me in the cosmos. But the more I spoke, the more I realized the futility of it all. There were no answers, no solutions to be found in the comforting words of a therapist. The truth, as unfathomable as it was, lived within me, a black hole consuming all hope of understanding. My dreams, once a refuge, became a battleground where the horrors of space invaded the sanctity of sleep. I relived the moments of terror night after night, each dream a vivid, nightmarish reminder of the ordeal. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving me exhausted, trapped in a liminal space where the terror of the unknown stalked me at every turn. In my darkest moments, I wondered if the station, with its inexplicable malfunctions and spectral messages, had been a harbinger of something more, a gateway to a reality we were never meant to understand. Was Alex's death merely the beginning, a catalyst for the unraveling of the thin veil that separates our world from the darkness beyond? These thoughts consumed me, eroding my grip on reality, leaving me questioning everything I had ever believed. As I looked up at the night sky, the stars no longer held the promise of adventure and discovery. Instead, they were a reminder of the vast, indifferent universe that lay waiting, filled with mysteries beyond human comprehension. I realized then that some truths are better left undiscovered, hidden in the depths of space, for to seek them out is to confront the very essence of terror. And so I stand here, a man changed by the horrors of the cosmos, sharing my story not as a warning, but as a testament to the unfathomable mysteries that lie beyond our reach. If you're listening, remember, the darkness of space holds secrets beyond our understanding, and sometimes, the price of uncovering those secrets is a piece of your soul. So look to the stars with wonder, but be wary of the darkness that lies between them. For in that darkness, there are things that defy explanation, that challenge our very notion of reality. And once you've stared into that abyss, once you've felt its cold, unyielding gaze, there's no turning back. The silence of space, once a siren's call, becomes a haunting reminder of the fragile boundary between the known and the unknown, between sanity and madness.